Introduction to Automotive SPICE, System Engineering Process Group. SIS1 Requirements Elicitation Part 1 Overview Section. The purpose of SIS1 Requirements Elicitation process is to gather, analyze, and track evolving stakeholder needs and requirements throughout the life cycle of the product and/or service to establish a set of agreed requirements. This is essential for establishing the requirements baseline, which serves as the foundation for defining the necessary deliverables. The key point here is to gather and establish the stakeholder needs and requirements to set up a solid requirements baseline. SIS1 Requirements Elicitation process belongs to the System Engineering Process Group within the Automotive SPICE framework. It is the first process to be executed when starting development. Let's take a look at the overall flow of this process. First of all, we gather requirements from various stakeholders, including customers. We then compile and document these requirements, create a stakeholder requirements document, and obtain agreement on its contents from the stakeholders who provided the requirements. The agreed upon requirements are registered as the requirements baseline. If stakeholders request changes, we conduct an impact analysis, agree on the changes, and update the requirements baseline accordingly. Note that BP1 and BP2 in the diagram refer to basic practices, which will be explained later, indicating which part of the diagram corresponds to each practice. Now, let's dive into each BP individually. BP, which stands for Basic Practice, represents the specific activities involved in the process. BP1 is to obtain stakeholder expectations and requests. This includes identifying and differentiating various stakeholders with a focus on customers and extracting and documenting their requirements and needs. As shown in this flowchart, there are a variety of stakeholders involved in the product, not just customers. For example, there are internal stakeholders such as product planning department, sales department, maintenance department, and all of whom have different needs. It is important to identify and categorize the stakeholders to gather these requirements and needs. Once those requirements are identified, document them. BP2 involves understanding the expectations and goals of the stakeholders. BP3 focuses on achieving a mutual agreement on the specific requirements. This includes carefully verifying one's understanding of the stakeholders' needs by asking, "I understand that you want the product to be able to do this. Is that correct?" It's necessary to ensure mutual understanding and agreement on the requirements. BP4 is about establishing a stakeholder requirements baseline. The requirements agreed with stakeholders are established as the requirements baseline. A requirements baseline is a set of requirements agreed upon for the current product development. Any changes to this set are subject to change management. In this diagram, the requirements database refers to where the agreed upon stakeholder requirements are registered, forming the requirements baseline. Without establishing such a baseline, there's a risk of continuous additional or changing requirements from the clients. For example, if 100 requirements are agreed upon and a baseline is established, the 101st requirement would be considered an additional requirement. Similarly, if a change is requested for the 46th requirement, it would be treated as a requirements change, potentially incurring additional costs. This is especially important with overseas clients, where establishing a requirements baseline ensures clarity and agreement on the requirements. BP5 is about managing stakeholder requirements and requirements changes. Even after setting the requirements baseline, requirements changes may arise for various reasons and need to be managed. When a request for requirements changes arise, we analyze the impact of the changes and assess its feasibility for implementation. If it is determined feasible to proceed with the change, we update the contents of the requirements baseline accordingly. BP6 is to establish system for mutual information verification between clients and suppliers. It involves creating systems where customers and stakeholders can verify the status of their submitted requirements or requirements changes. This includes providing updates at regular meetings, responding to customer inquiries, and establishing communication channels dedicated to sharing information with customers. If there are specific requests from customers, such as needing reports in particular formats or requiring specific data, we agree on the feasibility of these requests and then implement the necessary system accordingly. Thank you for watching the overview video on requirements elicitation process. If you are interested in our training videos, please feel free to contact us through our website. We look forward to speaking with you soon.